Steve, I want to ask you. I wonder what your thoughts, as Bob talks about the debt and the rising debt. I wonder what your thoughts are on how all of this might impact the economy. So we've got, interest rates going up. We've got net interest as a larger and larger share of the budget, as Tori explained earlier, and we've got this enormous gap between the revenues that are coming in and the spending that's going out. This is something the Concord Coalition's been warning about for the last 30 years. Are we finally here at the moment where this is really going to start to impact our economy, either job growth, wage growth, things like that?
Well, it's interesting because the federal debt. People sort of think about the federal debt as just being one big number. It's just debt, but in fact, the debt actually can be divided up because part of it is held by the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve uses debt to conduct monetary policy. Part of the debt is held by the rest of the world, and then part of the debt is held by U.S. investors, insurance companies, pension funds, and those sorts of things. And so when you think about the debt, you really can divide it up into very roughly equal thirds. A third is held by the Fed, a third is held by the rest of the world, a third is held by U.S. investors. And so when you look at the economic effect of the debt, you have to sort of look at who's holding the debt. How much are, foreign investors providing us with the funds to finance our government? How much is the Federal Reserve buying? And how much is being held by U.S. investors? And each of those have different effects. And normally, economists think about the effect of the debt in terms of crowding out. And crowding out is sort of this euphemistic term that says that, if the government borrows money, somebody else can't borrow the money. In other words, there's only so many dollars at any point in time. And if the government borrows part of the money, then there's less money to go around for everybody else. And so the idea is that government borrowing crowds out other borrowing, and therefore there's less money for home buyers to have mortgages, or businesses to take out loans, or companies to sell stocks and bonds. And so the notion is that the government debt does in fact crowd out private investment. And the standard economic theory says that economic growth is a function of the supply of labor, how many workers there are, how many hours do they work. And the other factor of economic growth is capital investment. How much are businesses investing in plant and equipment and factories and computers and all of those sorts of things. And so when you have less investment in the private sector, you have a smaller economy, you have less income, you have less growth. And so, yes, there is a real concern that as the debt grows, it crowds out private investment and shrinks the rest of the economy relative to what it would otherwise be. But again, it's important to distinguish the debt held by the public, the debt held by the rest of the world, and the debt held by the Federal Reserve, because I think each of those have a slightly different effect in terms of economic